Have you ever wondered where the idea of original sin came from? Most people point to Adam and Eve. But what if I told you that for one ancient group of mystics, the fall didn't start with a piece of fruit in a garden? It began before the universe was even created, with a cosmic mistake made by a divine being named Sophia. Sophia, whose name means wisdom in ancient Greek, is one of the most fascinating and complex figures in Gnostic thought. But who was she? In the Gnostic view of the cosmos, there's a divine realm of pure light called the pleroma, or fullness. This is heaven, populated by divine entities called eons, who are emanations from the ultimate unknowable God. Think of them as something like super angels. Sophia was the youngest and in some ways the most ambitious of these eons. Like the other eons, Sophia was part of a male-female pair, a syzygy. Eons were meant to create only with their partner and with the blessing of the Father. But Sophia, driven by an intense desire to understand the creative power of the Father for herself, decided to create something on her own. She conceived a child without her male counterpart and without the Father's approval. This act of passion and impatience was a disaster. It introduced a flaw, a deficiency, into the perfection of the pleroma. The child she birthed was not a being of light, but a monstrous, ignorant, and arrogant creature. This being is known as the demiurge. Horrified by what she had done, Sophia cast her deformed offspring out of the pleroma. Now alone in the void, the demiurge, who is often identified with the angry, jealous God of the Old Testament, mistakenly believed he was the one and only God. Out of his own ignorance and arrogance, he fashioned the material world-out universe. And in the process, he trapped sparks of divine light within his creations, Adam and Eve, that spark of divinity. That little piece of heaven inside each of us is the very essence of Sophia herself. This set up the fundamental conflict in Gnosticism. The spiritual, divine light struggling to escape the dark, material prison created by the demiurge. Because of her unauthorized act, Sophia herself became flawed. She could no longer exist in the perfect fullness of the pleroma. So, she was placed in an intermediary realm, just outside of heaven but above the material world her son had created. From this position, she became a kind of bridge between the divine and the human, the highest ruler over the visible cosmos. In her anguish, Sophia repented for her mistake. Her tears are said to have formed the cosmic waters. Seeing her remorse, the Father promised she could one day return to the pleroma, but only after she had been made whole again. This journey of redemption is central to the Gnostic story, mirroring humanity's own quest to find spiritual knowledge or gnosis and return to our divine source. In some traditions, Sophia's realm acts as a kind of purgatory. Souls who die without achieving full gnosis might spend time there, learning and being purified before they can ascend to the pleroma. In the famous Gnostic text, Pistis Sophia, Christ himself is sent down to enlighten the fallen Sophia, giving her the knowledge she needs to be redeemed. He then descends to earth as Jesus to teach humanity the same path to gnosis, directly linking Sophia's salvation to our own. It's fascinating that much of what we know about early Gnostic beliefs comes from their biggest critics. Irenaeus, a 2nd century bishop, wrote extensively against Gnosticism, but in doing so, he preserved some of their key ideas. He describes Sophia as the great mother principle, the Holy Spirit moving over the waters. In his account, Sophia's union with Christ produces a light so powerful that it overflows, creating matter and the 7 archons, or rulers, who govern the material world and try to keep humanity in ignorance. Sophia then creates mankind, embedding a divine spark within us as a way to reclaim that lost light from the archons. The story culminates with Christ returning to draw all the sparks of light back to himself, uniting with Sophia and ascending with her to heaven, completing her restoration. Now, the idea of a personified, feminine wisdom isn't exclusive to Gnosticism. In Jewish thought, especially in texts like the Book of Proverbs, we find Chokmah, the Hebrew word for wisdom. Chokmah isn't a fallen being, but an attribute of God personified as a female figure, Lady Wisdom. She is described as God's master builder, present at the dawn of creation, helping to bring order to the universe. In later Jewish mysticism, like the Kabbalah, Chokmah is the second of the 10 Sephirot on the Tree of Life, the initial flash of divine insight, the seed of all creation. It's important to remember that Gnosticism wasn't a single, unified religion. It was a diverse collection of spiritual movements with different teachers and beliefs. The Valentinians, perhaps the most influential school, had the most elaborate story of Sophia's fall and redemption. For them, her story was the entire reason for creation and salvation. Other groups had different takes. The Sethians, an older school, often featured a powerful divine feminine figure named Barbelo, who took on some of Sophia's roles. Martianism, founded by Martian of Sinope, had no Sophia at all. His system was a stark dualism between the cruel creator God of the Old Testament and the good, loving God revealed by Jesus. For him, there was no complex pleroma or fallen Ian. The same goes for Manichaeism, the world religion founded by the prophet Mani, which saw the universe as an eternal battle between a kingdom of light and a kingdom of darkness, without a Sophia myth to kick things off. Then there are traditions like the Mandeans, a living Gnostic religion that venerates John the Baptist. Their cosmology is also dualistic, but they don't have a Sophia figure. And the Thomasini traditions associated with the Gospel of Thomas focus more on achieving inner knowledge delight within rather than a grand cosmic drama about a fallen goddess. So what does Sophia ultimately represent? She is a symbol of wisdom, but a wisdom that can be passionate, flawed, and even reckless. She is the divine mother of the material world, but also the reason it's a flawed prison. Her story is our story. Her fall represents the divine spark that is lost within us. And her yearning for redemption is our own deep-seated desire to find meaning and reconnect with our spiritual origins. She is the proof that even from a great mistake, a path to salvation can be born, and that the wisdom we seek is not just out there in the heavens, but also deep within ourselves, waiting to be awakened. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this journey into ancient mysticism interesting, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more deep dives into the history of ideas. See you in the next one.